sun. Heads bop to the drums, still shock and stun. Ride with me shotgun, rock with sun. Heads bop to the drums, still shock and stun. Ride with me shotgun, rock with sun. Heads bop to the drums, still shock and stun. Ride with the back, with the back, with the back. Back to the pit, yeah. Check this.
Losing my breath, running around my head. Been playing it cool, but I've been pulling the thread. Maybe I'm too hard on myself, and maybe it ain't good for my health. All I want is all I want to see the end of the road. I'm still following to find out where it goes. I think you want me to hold the knife and push it through, but you won't let it show. Before I fall, I need to know, are you still holding on? Have you lost hope? 'Cause it's not fair to keep me close with broken promises. I need you to let me go.
Wyatt Tinsley sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Barr FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they're going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas.
Get your foot there. He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
Canvas is going to win.
The Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series heads to the Hawkeye State for race number 2 in the first round of the playoffs here from Iowa. It's going to be the Janet Guthrie 300K live from the Iowa Speedway, as one driver last week punched their ticket. That was Daniel Buttafuoco with a win at Bristol. We're looking to send another one to the next round of the playoffs. Sean Butler, Caleb Hoffman here with you. Zach Johnson being his normal tyrant self, pushing buttons in the truck. So, Caleb, we're rolling off here already. We'll go through the drivers in a second here. But Iowa presents a tough challenge for these guys. Multi-groove racetrack. Going to be interesting to see what groove prevails over everyone. So what are you looking to see these drivers search for in terms of grip in this race?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's going to be some questions about that high side early on, I think. I think you're going to see a lot of people kind of search around this racetrack for speed. The setup that we got tonight, this normal set that we run, the fixed setup is almost, it was described to me as almost wrecking loose. So they've tightened that up a little bit, and it's going to make these cars a lot of fun to drive, but still going to be a challenge to handle them all.
Absolutely. So we're going to see these guys searching for grip all night. Got a couple of pace laps here, as we'll take a look at a few of our starters here with our starting grid tonight. And stop me if you've heard this before, but Parker White is leading an FTF race. So he's going to be our pole sitter here for tonight. Daniel Falkingham alongside him. Starting third, Wyatt Tinsley in the number 20 Toyota. And also got Kevin King in the number 88. Row number 3, Timu Toika. Good to see him having a good qualifying run. Kane Cook will be to his outside. Row number 4, Blake Reynolds. Ethan Corder, good qualifying run for Ethan. He'll be rolling off in the 8th position. Row 5, Brandon Hawken and Brian Mercurio, a couple teammates going into turn 3. And we are about ready to get this thing underway. Quick pace laps here at Iowa, Caleb. And this one should be interesting to see who will tame Iowa to make it in to the next round. Pace car is ducking off. We're ready for 300 kilometers at Iowa. Green flag is out. Parker White leads him to the green. We get our question answered early. Daniel Falkingham using that middle lane will lead lap number 1. The first two have a breakaway, but Caleb, it is a pack of dogs behind them for third on back.
Yeah, right now Kane Cook just slipped in line behind Kevin King. He's going to try looking at this outside of that number 88 machine. Kane Cook trying to get all the way up against the wall and already coming up on some lap traffic. Looks like Hamilton Akabueze got off to a rough start here.
Yeah, they're going to be coming up on him in a hurry. Hopefully he can catch a quick caution to stay on the lead lap. Single file for the first about, I would say, 6 positions here. First battle going on back is Blake Reynolds and Ethan Corder. Reynolds in the 66, Corder in the 45, subbing for Lucas Plussel today, which is very odd considering Lucas is from Iowa and he's missing his home state race. So that's kind of weird, but good showing by Ethan early as he's got Brandon Hawkin all over the rear bumper of that car on the 99.
And look now, looks like Daniel Falkingham was able to get around Parker White here and take the lead from him early. Doesn't want Parker White getting too far away from everybody.
As I mentioned earlier, Falkingham was able to get around him at the start of the race, use that middle lane in 1 and 2. So I was curious to see how these guys are going to judge this as far as determining what lane to use. If we go back to Blake Reynolds here side by side with Timu Toika, Timu's able to get that great run off the corner, but Blake is able to drive it into the bottom. And Caleb, if you're familiar with iRacing, which I assume hopefully a lot of you are, the bottom lane is going to be the one to save tires, but the top lane is going to be the quickest way around. So these guys have to kind of pick and choose which lane they want to go with and how it'll affect their tires.
And absolutely, everybody on the bottom, I'd say, it's definitely that more conservative approach. But look at Timu right here to the outside of Wyatt Tinsley, again, trying to use this momentum. And like you said, going to tear up his equipment just a little more. But, it's going to allow him to really push early and try to get up here and contend.
As Timu's able to clear Blake Reynolds going into turn number 1. Got turning into a 3-car race for the lead here. Kane Cook starting to reel in Parker White and Daniel Falkingham up here in that number 3 car. So good showing by Kane, former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. He's not really using the high lane. He's using kind of like a hybrid between the 2nd and 3rd lane, running the high dotted line. So taking that low lane in 1 and 2, high lane in 3 and 4. And these guys searching for grip as the race progresses. So it's kind of single filed out till we get back to this battle here. Brandon Hawkin, that's Rocky Boyd there in the 16 on the top, and Ethan Corder. They are 3 wide through 3 and 4.
Yeah, last week's winner, Daniel Buttafuoco, down on the inside of all this as well. Trying to figure out where he's going to go, and it's so hard to figure out where you are going to put this car at Iowa because you only have so much racetrack to work with. It's pretty wide in the corners, but once you get on the straightaway, it narrows up real quick. And if you're Daniel Buttafuoco, it can be frustrating. It just feels like a logjam in front of you.
Absolutely. Good thing for Buttafuoco, though, he is locked into the next round with his win at Bristol, so that is good. Meanwhile, up front, Daniel Falkingham relinquishes the lead right back to Parker White. So move that 11, that 011, back up to its familiar spot here in FTF at the lead. But here comes Kane Cook working that high side in 3 and 4. He might be looking to challenge Falkingham for 2nd.
And Kane Cook, had some good runs earlier on this year. Good to see him back up at the front right now. Watch him go to the outside of Falkingham here. Maybe off the corner we'll see that run. Got to be careful not to tag that outside wall. It can be so easy to do, especially when you're on that outside lane.
There he goes. So I'd assume Falkingham would just let him go. It's really early, in this race here. Don't want to be, killing your stuff too much. So smart move by Falkingham to give it up to Kane Cook. And we've single filed out, but a guy, that we've talked about a couple times before already, Brandon Hawkin back there, he has been at the epicenter of some of these battles, and right now he is on the prowl, currently sitting in 11th, just past Ethan Corder for it. Ethan trying to fight for it on the bottom, and you see Nick Miller in that 19 car gets a big run off of turn number 4. He's able to move right on past Ethan. So these guys searching for grip as we go on in this race, and it looks like they're really only using that top lane as a passing lane. So I'm thinking that might be the move for a lot of these guys to have a healthy mix between tire saving and, of course, making those moves when you need them.
Yeah, just ahead of them as well. Last week's winner, Daniel Buttafuoco, is to the outside of Rocky Boyd, looking to make some progress. And right now, just kind of stuck there for the time being. He'll try to get this run in the middle of the corner, and there he goes, clear of Rocky Boyd, and he is now in the 9th position.
Buttafuoco, last week's winner at Bristol with a last lap pass of Jordan Worth to win the race. So that was a clutch win for Daniel. has a stress-free first round, as we saw a little bit back there. Ethan Corder gets very loose off of turn number 4. He's able to save it. Going to lose a couple more spots. David Brown's going to get by him. Joshua Chin in the 53 car this week. He's going to go by, and it looks like Michael Guest in the 9 is going to try to follow.
And Guest going to try to split through the middle here. Haven't seen much of this, but you can see just how aggressive Guest is to try to get up into this top 15-ish area now. Looks like he's going to be clear. Corder going to slip down in front of him and try to get to the inside of Joshua Chin here.
Some contact with Matthew Zwack there for Ethan Corder. Both drivers able to keep it going. So it looks like things might have calmed down a little bit here at Iowa. So up at the front, not really missing anything. Parker White, Kane Cook, Daniel Falkingham still your top 3. First battle on the racetrack is going to be this battle between Michael Guest and Jack Mace. This is the battle for 15th. Guest gets around him on that outside. Guest known for starting deep in field, seemingly on purpose. Started 16th in this one. He's currently made his way up 1 spot to 15th. But Caleb, you got to imagine that 9 car is going to be right where it's been all season. That's towards the front.
Absolutely. Guest has had so much speed all year long, and obviously in this playoff hunt, the first round presented by Kicking the Tires, and again has had such a strong season. Not off to the hottest start so far here, but he has plenty of time, just about 200 laps to go, to crawl up there and just continue this surge. And you don't got to get it all right here. You just pick them off one by one, and you'll be up at the front eventually.
Guest known for his tire saving, both in leagues and in official, and of course might have done it in the Coke Series a few times. He won a race this season at Pocono, so he knows how to get it done in these next-gen cars. So everything's single filing out pretty much. Getting a little bit closer at the front of the field is Kane Cook to Parker White. Kane is the only one consistently using that middle to top lane in turns 3 and 4. He's using the bottom lane of 1 and 2 to maybe kind of even out the tire wear, but he's running that top lane at 3 and 4 as Parker White elects to stay on the bottom, and Kane Cook going to use that top. So I guess we'll see later on in this race just how much the tires fall off for Kane, since he's mixing up running the bottom and the top there. So interesting call for him. But nothing much really going on in this field towards the front. We got to go towards the middle of the field here. We got a battle between Kevin McAdams and Briar LaPrade. Briar going around the outside of Kevin in that 019, and he's looking to the outside of Jack Mace as well. So mid-pack's got a lot of nice battles going on right now, Caleb. So it's good racing to watch here.
And Briar, you see on this outside, going to be able to just get that run like we've been seeing for most of the day. Jack Mace is trying to retain that track position, but it's so hard when you're down on that inside lane. You don't have any of that momentum to really compensate. Kevin McAdams here going to be able to get clear of Jack Mace, and he'll complete that pass. And Kevin, one of the other playoff drivers in this field, his win back at Daytona just a few weeks ago.
Of course, he wins a fuel mileage race, so that is par for the course for Kevin, how much he loves those. But just joining at home to indicate the playoff drivers, they will have a red front splitter, red window banner, and a red rear spoiler. That was almost really tough to get out. I don't know why, but that's how you indicate our playoff drivers. Look back up at the front there. You see case in point Parker White, that red rear spoiler. Got the red shark fins there on the roof. Red window banner on the front, and of course the red front splitter. Easy to see on this car, Daniel Falkingham's car, that 054. I don't want to say iconic interstate battery scheme, but that is a beautiful paint scheme to look at. It's also his car in the Coke Series, going back to Blake Reynolds there. And Zach has just given us a workout here. There's Brian Mercurio, easy to see on his car as well, all the red, so he's another playoff driver. We're just gonna go through the field, I guess. There's last week's winner, Daniel Buttafuoco at Bristol. Then I'm assuming going behind him to Brandon Hawkin. Rocky Boyd's not going to have one, unfortunately. Michael Guest will, easy to see on his car with just a plain white paint scheme. And behind him, Nick Miller is kind of giving him a run for his money. Kind of gave him a tough battle there for the position, as Nick Miller always does, but Guest able to get by. And right now, 0 battles happening on the racetrack towards the front. And Caleb, we got to go back. I think the first one we see towards the back, Jonathan Oates and Nate Stewart back here. We're just side by side for 20th, so this is where I guess the quote-unquote is right now.
And you see Lawson Peel all the way up to that outside wall, trying to use, all the way up beyond those white lines, trying to find speed up there, and haven't seen many guys go up quite that high, but certainly going to be one of the first to try it. Ethan Corder, who's been kind of on a back step here the last few laps, was, started this race up inside the top 10 now, trying to fight to just stay in the top 20.
Look at all the lanes being used in this group right here. There you see Lawson Peel. We mentioned Ethan Corder dropping like a rock, as you mentioned here. Ethan started way up in 10th. He's back to 26th. So gotta wonder what's going on with that 45. The iconic, the climb to 325 paint scheme on that Chevy Camaro. So we'll look to see what Ethan does with this. He's got the 31 of David Cabrera above him behind, and Philip McCandless in that 109 is back there as well. So 3 wide back here as well. This is going to be for, I believe, the 22nd position. Jonathan Oshalem, Nate Stewart, and Cole Hooper going at it.
And got to be super careful if you're in this group right here. Again, very narrow track Iowa Speedway, and you'll get right here into the corner, and it can feel pretty wide, but then you get right back onto that straightaway, and everybody's fighting for that same real estate, and you can run out of room really quickly. Great job by Lawson Peel to utilize that outside lane. Another thing that's really caught my eye early on here is most of these playoff drivers have been having very quiet, consistent lap times, very clean races so far. I couldn't say the same last week at Bristol, but for the most part, I think with the exception of 2 of them, all the other playoff drivers right now inside this top 20.
Just call him out, Caleb, with all of our cautions last week, but was quite an endurance fest, a race of attrition, if you will. Back up at the front, Kevin King is making his way up, so we're long in a run. That means Kevin King is going to make his presence felt. And we have a caution, trouble in the back of the field. Big crash going into 3. Seth Knowles squirts through it. Cosmin Yonashua is in it. Jordan Worth is in it. And that is our first crash of the night. So what in the world happened here? Going into turn 3, there you see Jordan spinning the iconic Chad Little-inspired Davies Doobies 97 car around. So significant damage to the front. Let's see what we can see from this one.
And again, this was right around that pack. Lucas Plessel in front of Nate Stewart just gets turned. Jordan Worth goes around into the outside wall. There's David Cabrera, gets a little piece of it. Seth Knoll does a good job. Not sure where Cosmin was going there.
I was just about to say Cosmin just didn't really react to it, unfortunately. So Ethan Corder in that 45, it might be a not clear situation. Just thought he had enough room in front of Nate Stewart there. David Cabrera got involved in it. Jordan got turned around. And there's Cosmin, 84, just hits Jordan. I don't know what the deal was there, but that'll bring out our first caution of the night here as we'll get it on board. I think this is from Cosmin. It is, so we'll see what he saw. So there's the wreck. Can't quite see what's going on. Gets through one. Just didn't quite make that turn left, unfortunately. And I don't think he's got a lot of damage, but that damage to the right front is not going to help, as we have a busy pit road here at Iowa, and looks like Nick Miller is going to win the race. Did he pit? I don't think he pit. He did not pit. So Nick Miller and Ryan Naraki elect to stay out. They're probably going to come in knowing those 2 guys. I know Ryan Naraki. All right, well, Miller's going to come in. Naraki is going to stay out. So Naraki points racing like he always does. He's going to get his lap led and probably go on back to the back. So Parker White will be your first car off of pit road.
Well, Ryan Naraki, before that caution, was running 34th and was one of those 2 playoff drivers I really had my eye on. Looking around, especially at the playoff grid coming into today, Ryan Naraki was only 1 point out of it. So he has to be fighting for all the points he can get at this point. Was with Michael Guest, again, just 1 point out of that 12-car bubble. So points play here from Naraki, maybe trying to save the next 15 laps for some stage points if he can stay in this top 10.
Or maybe an extra set of tires. Who knows the strategy with Ryan. I've been in races with him, and sometimes his strategies can get a little head scratching, but it somehow ends up working out in the end. So that's all that he's really there for. So with this strategy, with him staying out on these old tires, he's usually really good at just getting out of everybody's way, after he pulls something like this. So we'll see what he's able to do as we get to the 1 to go. Lights go out atop the iRacing pace car, and we are single file restarts right here, I believe. That's why you see the field not doubled up. So we are going way old school for the restarts here at FTF tonight. So this should make these restarts a lot more interesting. So our leader is coming out of turn 2 right now, the final car in the racetrack that's caught up to the pack. I was going to say Jordan, but he's not really caught up yet. Matthews Wack just crossed the start-finish line, so that is a hefty gap from the lead back to the end of this pack, if you will. There you see Matthews Wack. Jordan Worth just catches up. But there's Wack. You see him in the middle of 1 and 2. Ryan Naraki just going into turn 3. There you see the Iowa 3. That proves what I'm saying is true. But here we go. We'll see how our single file restart plays out. Pace car will be ducking off. Ryan Naraki on those old tires will lead the field to the green. The stage will end on lap 50. Coming to lap 36. Green flag is out. Naraki to the line. He will lead him into 1.
This is going to be interesting here if Naraki's going to be able to hold off the surging Parker White, Balkingham, Kevin King, and doesn't look like he'll make it out of turn 2 here. Naraki all the way up against that wall, getting cycled out. Kevin King trying to get by him now. Tinsley, Kane Cook going all the way up against the wall as well. It's been a tough first lap for Naraki as he's just trying to hold on at this point.
So Ryan Naraki on old tires versus 3 Coke Series drivers, 4 Coke Series drivers, and a couple of former ones behind. I will say, give me the Coke drivers all day as they're 3 wide off of 2. Kane Cook gets almost shoved into the wall by Naraki, and that is Naraki is a rolling chicane right now with all these playoff drivers. He's one of them. But everyone looks to get through unscathed as we're looking on board back from Naraki. Buttafuoco nowhere to go. He's going to look to go 3 wide in the middle. He does. Buttafuoco gets loose right in front of Rocky Boyd. Naraki holding on to the top. Here comes Guest in the bottom. Briar LaPrat is there in the 19.
Got to be careful here, and like I said, Rocky Boyd all the way down to the inside, and Naraki all the way already outside of the top 10 and is fighting to hold on. This top 15 might get a little grievance from Kevin McAdams, but Kevin also is going to go down to the inside lane, and not a good cycle there for Naraki, but if he can cycle out ahead of 34th, which is where he was before that caution, it'll be a net win.
He got his lap led, so that is a mission accomplished for Ryan Naraki. So that'll hopefully kind of even out there with him. There you see our battle on the racetrack. Briar LaPrade, Rocky Boyd for 13th position as they make their way through turns 1 and 2. Rocky pinching very aggressively in that middle lane there, trying to keep Briar down there, keeping the run off the corners. So he's going to drive it in hard and looking a little bit further back. Jonathan Oates getting by Ryan Naraki there. So Naraki, I think, he might find himself at the very end of this pack. I think he is the only driver that stayed out on that last caution. So everyone's tires right now are 8 laps old, 7 laps old. Naraki, 41 lap old tires. So that tells you all you need to know about that situation.
And interesting here, Kevin King down to the inside. Another one of these guys who was outside of the bubble, if you can believe that, coming into tonight. He just needs to, have a smooth, consistent race. He was 21 points out, and I know a top 5 will go a long way to helping his cause come Talladega.
It almost seems just out of character for Kevin King to be outside of the playoff picture, or the transfer, if you will. But if anyone can sneak his way back in there, it's Kevin King. So the way it stood coming into this race, Ryan Naraki was 1 point out of the cut line. Kevin King was 21. David Brown, 39 points out. Dylan Basin, 87 points out. So the only ones that have a realistic shot, of course, Naraki, King does, maybe Brown. So we got to see just how much those guys can take advantage of these races going into the cut. As we are looking at this aggressive battle, that's for the, I believe it's for the 7th position. Brian Mercurio in the 41, Timu Toika in the 146, and Brandon Hawken in the 99. On board with Daniel Buttafuoco here, last week's winner, looking at Timu Toika running that middle lane, getting the run off the corner. So we saw in that first part of the run, Kane Cook was running that top side intermittently. He ran it in 3 and 4, ran the bottom in 1 and 2, and that kind of made his tires suffer a bit at the end of that run. You saw he was getting run down by Kevin King at the end of that run. So we're going to see if the drivers take note of that. But right now at the end of the stage, it doesn't look like they are. As Parker White crossing the line here to complete lap 45 onto lap 46. So 5 laps to go in stage 1.
And look at Hawken here. Budafuco's going to go with them. Both of them to the outside trying to get past this 146. And again, these stage points are so valuable to all these playoff drivers. Why you see so much aggression at the end of these stages, especially up here towards the front. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see something big here for Michael Guest as well, as every little point is going to matter to him.
Yeah, I was just about to mention Guest is sitting in 11th right now. He needs to get to 10th to at least score some points, some stage points coming in. So these laps go by quick. Working lap 47 right now. He's sitting in that 11th spot. Got to get to 10th to pass Teemu Toika. Right now the laps are clicking off. 3 laps to go in stage 1 for Michael Guest. Can he get to that 10th spot to score a playoff point?
And I mean, he's there right now. He's looking down to the inside of Toika. Again, Toika's going to get this run off the corner. Like I said, I think it's going to take something big out of Michael Guest here, but it is doable for sure. Toika getting held up a little bit by Budafuco. Out of turn number 2 this time for Michael Guest. Does he have anything in the chamber?
Let's see. So if anybody can get there, it's Michael Guest. So he's not really going to elect to run that top, I think, right now as we hop on board with Michael Guest. So we'll see how he plays this. You know, he's a really smart driver. You know, I'm under the impression that if he doesn't get this playoff point, it's no big deal. Winning the race is a lot more valuable than winning a stage. So I think that's Guest's ultimate goal here as we take the white flag in stage number 1, as there you see Parker White making his way through turns 3 and 4, and Parker White off of turn number 4 is going to win stage 1. So just add another tally to the list of Parker White's 2023 FTF season and gets another stage win under his belt. But for those of you that are new to the FTF series, unlike the real life Cup series, we don't throw cautions at the end of stages. We keep on going. So your stage points getters for this: Parker White, Daniel Falkingham, Wyatt Tinsley, Blake Reynolds, Kevin King, Kane Cook, Brian Mercurio, Brandon Hawken, Daniel Budafuco, and Teemu Toika will be our stage point receivers after stage 1.
And shocker there from Parker White.
It's never happened.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to look around. Jacob left me his trusty list of notes in his absence this week. He has somewhere written down how many stage wins Parker White has this year. I can't find it, but I got to say it's in the 30s at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure it's somewhere. So we'll try to dig that information up as pit stops start. There you see Ryan Naraki coming in, much deserved after staying out. But we'll go ahead and take a pit stop ourselves here after stage 1. Parker White leads it here at Iowa. And we'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series on FTF GG. Back live here at Iowa for race number 2 in the first round of the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series playoffs, the Janet Guthrie 300K here at Iowa. Parker White, again, assuming you've watched a couple FTF races this year, is leading. No surprise there. Daniel Falkingham in second, and just before we went to break, you saw that car that's currently in second in the order on the track, but he's not actually in second. Ryan Naraki come in for the first set of green flag pit stops, but Caleb, he has marred himself back one lap down, so he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, and actually running 2 laps down right now as Parker White just got past him, and a net loss here for Naraki, who was running 34th before that cycle on the lead lap, and it is now 42nd, running 2 laps down right now, and not what that guy needed, especially when you're only 1 point out coming in. It's going to take a Hail Mary, and you have plenty of time to recover from this. As you see, he's going to try to get one of his laps back here from Parker White with those fresher tires, but definitely not what you need. You need just a smooth, consistent race to hopefully put yourself in a good position come Talladega next week, because that's going to be the wild card of this round. You don't want to go into a race like Talladega needing a top 10 or a top 15 to make it as he slaps the wall. Absolutely not. So Talladega is not the race you want to go to looking for a win. So as you guys saw, may or may not have seen during the break, we had a little bit of an incident there with that machine. That's the number 1 of Seth Knoll. Had a little bit of an issue down the backstretch. We'll take a look and see just what caused it. We saw some internet issues there. Comes off the corner and just loses it looks like. Does a good job keeping it off the inside wall there, Caleb, but definitely a very weird looking incident there for Seth Knoll. Yeah, and it's strange for sure, but he was able to get it back going, and race control came over the radio, said, hey, it's just a single car incident, and no caution resulted from it. So a tough break for Seth Knoll, but he'll again have that opportunity to get back going. Look at Briar LaPrade here. This all happening for around that 10th place position. Looks like a battle for 9th, if you want to call it. A couple of playoff drivers here in this battle. Brandon Hawken in that 99, the 099. If you're scoring at home in the series, Briar LaPrade in the 019 and Daniel Buttafuoco in the 13. So, like I said, Buttafuoco can maybe kind of just chill in this race. Not a must-win situation for him after his victory at Bristol last week. But if we know anything about these guys, if they get the chance to win, they're going to chomp at the bit to take it. So everyone pretty much single file. Only one running kind of out of lane is Michael Guest, just up the road from these guys. Got to go back. We have quite a snarling group back here in the midst where Michael P. Frisch is. We haven't really had an update on that 58 Barr Visuals machine. We'll go back there. He is notorious for starting deep in fields as well, because he likes to torment himself. Started 6th on the grid, finds himself back in the 18th position. So Caleb, he's got a lot of ground to make up as well. And another driver I wanted to look at and focus on here was currently running 37th, the number 97 machine of Jordan Worth, who is not off to the hottest start here. And, he'll certainly have to try to regroup and get everything back together. Has plenty of time to do so, but not running the hottest early on here at Iowa. Producer Zach Johnson was not very happy with Jordan after he switched back to this paint scheme. He was so used to running his Chris Davis paint scheme that he wasn't anticipating Jordan switching to his brother Davies paint scheme. And there you see the numbers match, but not the colors. So Zach was giving us a very hard time, and I don't know what he wants us to do about it. It's Jordan's car, but nonetheless, Jordan got a lot of work to do himself. He's just out there chilling after his 2nd place finish last week, so I'm sure he's still satisfied with that. But right now, Caleb, we're in the midst of a green flag run. We're in the midst of a very long-looking green flag run. Everybody's single file, just running along that bottom of the racetrack. Yeah, and everybody just kind of minding their P's and Q's at the moment. And, looking at this group of Wyatt Tinsley, he has another playoff driver behind him, and Blake Reynolds. And all these guys just trying to figure out, what they're going to do strategy-wise at the end of this run. I think right now it is more valuable to just get laps off the board at this point and try to submit your position more than, trying to press the matter, especially if you're a guy like Daniel Falkingham, Kevin King right now. positions aren't really going to help you all that much come the end of this run.
Definitely not. So we're looking towards the front. They're starting to span out a little bit. Parker White has opened up a 1.1, now 1.2 second lead over Daniel Falkingham. So again, Parker White just checking out on the field here right now. Haven't seen domination like this in an FTF Cup Series season, let alone race, for quite some time. So Parker, if we had DraftKings or anything like that to do with this series, you're picking him pretty much every week in terms of this. But there's Daniel Falkingham in that number 054 Interstate Batteries Toyota Camry having a good run himself. But it looks like Kevin King kind of looking to sneak up on him a little bit there in that 88, looking like the tire is a little bit better on that Chevrolet.
And again, just ticking laps off at the moment for everybody. And Falkingham right now is trying to hold off Kevin King. I don't know if Kevin King's necessarily trying to get past him at this point, or is just trying to break up the monotony of this many laps on the bottom at Iowa. But nevertheless, he is gaining on the 054 of Daniel Falkingham. Could be making a move for second place here shortly.
Kind of trying to analyze the line he's running a little bit. So he looks like he's running that middle line in 1 and 2, goes up to the top lane here in 3 and 4, then kind of cuts it down a little bit, a lane, maybe a half a lane on exit, try to get that straight exit, preserve the rear tires a bit. So it looks to be working right now as he swings it to the outside, now kind of moves it to the middle. So Kevin, like we keep saying, is not a stranger to finding grip in iRacing. One of the best tire savers in anything he runs in iRacing. So if anyone, if you want to watch anybody and kind of help yourself learn what tire conservation in iRacing is, Kevin might just be the guy, because you can learn definitely a lot from watching these Coke Series drivers as well as our high-end playoff drivers here in FTF. So King looks to kind of make the move on Falkingham, but nothing doing just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes to show how much talent there is in this series. I mean, it feels like the top 15, 20 drivers are all really, playoff caliber. And you see that when watching these guys, just lots of skill, lots of experience running around this series. And it's so much fun to watch them every week.
Not very many leagues in iRacing can claim that to be a warm-up race for the Coke Series coming up in the following couple days. So that's happened a few times. There's the onboard Kevin King. Been around for a while here on iRacing out of San Diego, California. Been here since 2008, and of course he's well known in his days on NR 2003. So definitely one of the big names in the history of oval sim racing and sim racing in general, really. So good to see Kevin having another good run here as they make their way by the lap car of Ethan Porter. And we're talking, Caleb, a little bit about Ethan, and it's kind of baffling as how that car started so far towards the front. And right now, Ethan just dropping through the field ever so slowly. He's a lap down now after starting in the top 10.
Yeah, and I mean, Porter right now, I think, is just trying to hold on for this run, and he's had so much going on. You can go out there and hot lap it, put a good lap down, but I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Like you mentioned with Kevin King, the tire conservation and just knowing how to, preserve your equipment over a run. And you see right now for Porter that might not be the case at the moment, might have burned that stuff up early. And this is what happens when you do that. And it just comes with time and experience, and Porter will get it down. But just very difficult to run with this caliber of driver, up in the top 10, 15.
Speaking of drivers moving their way up, we got a couple guys that are, I guess, in contention for the biggest mover of the race right now. That honor belongs to Kwame Scott. Right now, currently up 23 positions in that 048 for Kwame. Started back, it appears, I think our gridding's a little bit incorrect on this because it says he started in 54th. That is not correct. We did try to field 60 cars in this race, so certified ATVO timing and scoring moment there for this. So a little bit further up in the field, though, we do have a little bit of a battle happening. Michael Guest starting to pick his way through the field. He has been one of our biggest movers. After starting back in 16th, he finds himself now in the top 5.
And again, Guest, we were monitoring his ascension through the top 10, and now getting past quarter. And look at this bottleneck effect that Porter's had Tinsley, Kane, Cook, Blake Reynolds all in this group.
Kane's going to try to duck it down through the middle as they all safely navigate the lap car of the 45. So move Michael Guest into P4. And just a little further up the road, Kevin King has not really been able to get around Daniel Falkingham yet. So he's going to try it into one right now. So the battle for second, King will duck to the inside. Nothing really doing there. So it just kind of shows how difficult it is to pass on the bottom here, especially at the front. So these guys know how to run these cars in every lane. You got to think you got to get to the top lane to get it done. But Kevin has just not been able to get alongside the number 054.
And King has just been kind of in those tire tracks of Falkingham the last few laps, looking to run a little lower. And Kevin King, he's been one of the more interesting stories this year as he goes down to the inside of Falkingham. Obviously the defending Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series champion, but has yet to go to victory lane this year, along with so many other playoff drivers, just kind of a natural result of Parker White's domination. There haven't been as many opportunities, but that 88 car has been to victory lane twice, but Kevin King has not been behind the wheel for either one of those as he's still in battle here with Falkingham for that second position. And so something to monitor is just how aggressive is he going to get to try to wind up in victory lane, as we hear some drivers might be coming down the pit lane this time by.
Yeah, we're getting some laps on the tires now. Currently working, a bunch of these guys are going to be working lap 54 of this run, as Brian LaPrade is going to be the first one to duck onto pit road to start this round of green flag pit stops. So we'll see if anyone else follows suit here. I would say a fuel run, they would say, is maybe around 50, not 50, but maybe like 70 laps or so. So not surprising to see Breyer try to mix things up. We have a caution. Rocky Boyd in the wall in turn 3. Not really seeing anything else with this. Rocky's going to get out. I don't want to say unscathed, trying to get the thing turned around, but that'll bring out our second caution of the night here at Iowa.
Again, right at the tail end of this run, and the second time in a row, not really going to be able to see green flag pit stops here.
We'll get a replay of this as you see Brian LaPrade getting off of pit road. So he will lose a lap temporarily, but he will get it. So unfortunately, Ethan Corder is in on this one as well, but this one was not his doing, I don't think. Rocky just looked like he just squeezed Ethan up towards the wall there. Nothing really much he could do. Turns Rocky around, and that's enough to bring out caution number 2.
And again, we'll see here, and second incident involving Ethan Corder here, and after a strong start, his tough night's going to continue. Boyd just comes to a stop right there, and it's under our second caution.
So pit road, busy place once again. Everybody comes down pit road that's on the lead lap. Every one of the lap down cars will be able to come by next time. So Parker White's going to lead them down, and we'll see who's able to win the race off. It looks like Parker will easily win the race off of pit road. Everyone pretty much comes out in the way they went in at the front of the field. So Jonathan Oshalim is the only driver to stay out under this caution, but we'll see if he will bring that number 11 Makoni Setup Shop Toyota Camry into pit road, and it looks like he will. So the 11 gives way to the 011. So we'll put Parker White back up front here. Kevin King will be second, Daniel Falkingham third, Michael Guest fourth, Kane Cook in fifth after this round of pit stops. And no surprise there, Caleb. Their race control, Justin Malillo, full-time race control, Justin Malillo, I should say, is going to call that one on the 45. And it says the 16 was squeezing a little, so I guess they're going to call this one a racing deal.
And I think it's a fair call there, and Rocky Boyd was decreed to be squeezing Porter a little. And again, so easy to do that when you're all fighting for the same real estate.
Currently under caution right now here at Iowa. So let's, I don't know, could we maybe do something we haven't done in a long time and get a word with somebody? So let's dial this guy up. Kevin, do you have us?
Hello.
Hey, man. So you're currently sitting back there in 13th. Iowa's a track you love dearly on the service. So why are you not leading?
Well, the first run I was saving tires, and then we got a caution, and then this time I was saving fuel,
Oh,
and we got a caution. I was trying to get to the end of the stage, but we most certainly will be able to do that now. So, just trying to bide my time. There is a lot of dirty air with this configuration. The next gen does not like flat tracks, so it's been a little difficult to pass. But we've been kind of minding our p's and q's. Our tire wear sounds good compared to our teammates. So if we can get a full green flag run here, I think we'll have one stop left to go, and well, hopefully we can get green flag stops because this pit entry is a little treacherous. So I'm hoping that I can make up the difference there, and we'll find out. Well, let's hope we can keep this decent race going.
I guess just kind of divert. You talk about teammates. What is the frustration level in the Ryan Araki camp right now?
Well, he thinks he should be lucky dog because he was the first car lap down at the point of yellow, which I would tend to agree with. But Justin awarded it to Breyer, who was lapped. This is what I'm hearing after the caution had been waived. So there's a contention there in the channel. But then you pulled me up here, so I don't know what the result of that was. So
I'll let you get back down there. We'll find out later on. I don't want to keep you from your important festivities down there, but thanks for joining us, Kevin, and give him heck out there.
Oh, thank you.
It's Kevin McAdams. He's currently sitting there in the 13th spot. As I did mention, Iowa is one of his favorite tracks on the service. He praises it at nauseum. So, Kevin, I was kind of expecting a little bit more out of him. I thought he'd be leading this whole thing, but oh well. So should be going green this time by here. Pace car, the lights are off on top of the iRacing pace car, and Parker White's going to lead them down in the middle of the track single file. So restart coming on lap 92 here at Iowa. Green flag is out and Parker White is away. So again, stage 2 will end at lap 100 here. So this is the race to the end of stage 2. Can Parker White win his second of the race?
Yeah, trying to sweep the stages here, Parker White, but he's going to have Kevin King, Falkingham, Guest all right down his back bumper, and Falkingham looking to the outside right now, maybe trying to get past King early on, but they're not going to have much time to operate here to get back to Parker White.
Michael Guest trying to mix it up here. That all-white number 9. He's got Falkingham on the outside. Kevin King is in second. Falkingham tries to get the run off of turn 2. Not quite enough room to put the nose, as here comes Falkingham to the inside of Kevin King. Battle for second, but as we've seen throughout this whole race, Caleb, it's going to be that middle lane prevailing. So while this is going on a little bit further back, Brandon Hawken trying to knife his way into the top 10 just past David Brown for the 9th position. And this battle for the final stage point is kind of heating up. There you see Daniel Botafuco going by Brown, so move him into the top 10.
And Brown, another one of those guys on the outside looking in early on here, and had to squeak his way in at Daytona, and 39 points below the cut line coming into tonight. So again, any sort of points are going to really help his cause coming out of tonight. Trying to get past Twicko, who's had a very quiet but a very strong night in that 146. Another playoff driver, we just spoke to Kevin McAdams. He is right on that buffer as well.
A little bit further up towards the front, Michael Guest has found the outside of Daniel Falkingham, and he's gotten a little bit of help from Kevin King through 1 and 2. Gives a little pick to Falkingham, so move Guest into third, and Blake Reynolds to the inside of Kane Cook just behind. So the Hornet's nest is forming in the top 10 to try to get as many stage points as they can. We're coming up to 3, now at 3 laps to go here in stage 2, and Guest trying to get underneath King for second.
And officially in the buffer zone now. Look at Kane Cook right here. Just got past Blake Reynolds. Break into that top 5. Look at Michael Guest trying to get here on Kevin King to the inside.
Very impressive by Guest as we take a look just outside of the driver window of Kevin King. Really close there on exit for Guest, and now at the rear bumper. So Guest is going to have to try to find his way to the outside of Kevin King as anything has been indicated in this race so far. Kevin McAdams, as we spoke with him under caution, said dirty air is very prevalent, and we might as well call this the dirty air cam, as Kevin King goes to the middle. Guest will look to the inside, but just not enough drive off to get the move done for Guest.
And coming to the checker here, Guest going to have one last shot to get around Kevin King, looks like.
Off at turn 4, Parker White is going to win his second of 2 stages for this race. So definitely some much needed points for Parker to continue his trek for Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series Championship, as Michael Guest will make the move around Kevin King. So move the 9 into P2. Kevin King back to 3rd. And man, the talent in this top 10 right now is just loaded with Coke Series and former Coke Series drivers. Of course, Parker White leading, current driver. Michael Guest, current Coke driver. Kevin King, current Coke driver. Trouble on the front stretch, another caution. It's Seth Knoll again, this time spinning at a turn 4. So that's 2 spins for Seth, having a rough go of it in that number 1 Nexus Esports Chevrolet. So we'll dig into a replay for this, but Caleb, 2 spins now for that one car for Seth Knoll.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be just another case of self-spinning here for Knoll, and maybe just the rear tires spinning when he gets back on the throttle. Looks like a little help from David Cabrera as well, but he will claim that and puts us under our 3rd caution of the day and our 2nd here in the last 20 or so laps. Lucky it came right at the tail end of that stage.
Well, tough break for Seth here, as that brings us under another caution period. So that lets us have a little bit of a breather as we make our way through this race here at Iowa tonight for the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series. You're watching the Janet Guthrie 300K from Iowa. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Back in Iowa here for the Janet Guthrie 300K for the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series. Live here from the Iowa Speedway. And as we mentioned under our last caution period, Kevin McAdams loves this place. And he's currently leading, stayed out under this last caution period. So right now the top 5 drivers in this race stayed out, playing a little bit of strategy. So along with Kevin, Kwame Scott, Lawson Peel, Matthew Swack, and Briar LaPrade have all stayed out. So I guess, Caleb, I'll ask you this one. So what will be the benefit of staying out for these guys? I mean, we still got quite a long ways to go in this, almost exactly 100 laps. So what do these guys have to gain for staying out in this period?
Well, I mean, my first thought would be track position here, and hopefully you're just trying to hang on for this restart. But I mean, we've seen how that went with Ryan Naraki here. So for guys like Kevin McAdams, you know, Sebastian Marin, maybe you're hoping for another caution in quick succession. Maybe you're hoping to get a little bit into this run after holding these guys off, and then you can get another caution as kind of a, you know, set everybody back to equilibrium and get back on the same strategy as everybody else. But could also be fuel implications as well. So many multitude of reasons that these guys could be staying out. We'll just have to see here in the next, 9 or 10 laps to see how that really is going to unfold for these guys.
So Kevin, Kwame, Lawson, and Matthew Zwack will have 19 laps on their tires when we go back racing. Brian LaPrade in 5th will have the older set of tires. He'll have 21 laps on his tires when we go back racing. So going to be interesting to see just how quickly and efficiently Buttafuoco, Parker White, Michael Guest, Kevin King, Daniel Falkingham, all of our front runners that took tires on that last pit stop can make their way through the traffic that these guys are going to present. So a lot of playoff drivers in this traffic, the aforementioned traffic, including Kevin McAdams, Kwame Scott, and I believe Matthew Zwack as well. So we'll see just how well these guys can get on the gas. Pace car is off. McAdams is on it, gets a good jump, and the front 4 looks like they'll break away a little bit as McAdams leads him into turn 1.
And McAdams, Sebastian Marin, good thing about all these guys staying out is they're going to have a little bit of a buffer. See right here. Look at everybody fanning out back here. Buttafuoco, Michael Guest is all the way up against the wall. They're going to get by Parker White.
Michael Guest in that 9 car, Daniel Buttafuoco in the 13. Those two are the guys to watch as we had a lead change. Kwame Scott gets around Kevin McAdams, so move the 48, the 048 officially, into the lead. And look at Briar LaPrade on that top side on those older tires. He's got the oldest tires out of everybody in the top 10 up here, and he's making moves. He's currently side by side for 3rd. Here comes Matthew Zwack underneath McAdams for 2nd. And now Buttafuoco and Guest are running up on these guys. So it's going to be crazy to see how much these new tires will be patient with these older tires here, but looks like McAdams is making it work on that top side.
And right now, Kwame Scott trying to use this advantage to pull away from the field. 3 wide there for 2nd going into turn number 1, and now Brian LaPrade looks down to the inside underneath Matthew Zwack, who is, hoping this fuel strategy can pay off. Buttafuoco in this group as well. Lawson, Peel, Michael Guest, all of them going to fan out as they get into turns 3 and 4, and then coming off the corner, going to all have to come back together again.
Almost looked like Zwack got the wall a little bit off of turn 4 there, and a couple puffs of smoke there off of the 7. Brian LaPrade looking to the inside of Zwack. That'll be for 2nd, but here come the fresh tires. Buttafuoco gets by for 4th. Guest following right behind Buttafuoco, and Parker White right in the tire tracks of Guest. So the new tires making the bottom lane work and able to knife through these older tires. But I'd be remiss to say I'm not impressed by just how much these guys on older tires are able to, I guess, keep up with or hold off the newer tires. As here comes Matthew Zwack off of turn 2, looking for the lead on Kwame Scott, so move the 7 up to P1.
And now Kwame Scott looking down to that inside, trying to use that shorter way around the racetrack, but the momentum's just going to carry Zwack, LaPrade forward, and now they're going to have those positions. Buttafuoco as well to the outside of Kwame Scott, who just held the lead. Michael Guest, got to be careful here, though, for a lot of these guys, because the longer you stay side by side like this, the more of an advantage you're giving everybody who just came down the pit lane.
And we've seen the longer they run this hard line off of turn number 2 and turn number 4 on that top side, the more they're going to wear their tires. So we're definitely going to be seeing just how much that comes into play as Buttafuoco is able to clear Scott for 3rd. Here comes Guest now for 4th, and up towards the front, LaPrade looking to the outside for the lead as they head into turn 3.
And LaPrade trying to hold strong on this outside. Seeing mostly a train of cars on the inside. Parker White was the lone guy who was running the very top in turns 3 and 4 there. LaPrade gets the lead, but now the question becomes, how long can this group hold off Parker White?
to make their way off of turn number 2. Buttafuoco is clear of Zwack for second. Guest following him through for third. So I am invested in just how much Briar LaPrade is going to be able to hang on to this lead. So he's got the clean air, but he's got the older tires, as we've said. So if he can maybe just keep Buttafuoco and Guest behind him and just let the tires hopefully even out, this might have been a good call, for LaPrade and company to stay up towards the front. As a quick update on our guys who stayed out, as we saw, Briar LaPrade currently leading the race still. We'll go a little further back. Matthew Zwack currently is in 4th. Kwame Scott has dropped to 7th. Kevin McAdams has dropped to 11th. Lawson Peel back to 13th. So slowly slipping back for a couple of the guys that stayed out. But it looks like Briar LaPrade so far at the front, this has been a pretty good call for him.
Yeah, I was really surprised here that we haven't seen a lot of these guys crawl up through the field faster, and especially in Buttafuoco and Guest, Parker White especially, that they, have kind of gotten held up by LaPrade. I thought they were going to, just make pretty light work of him and get past him, but that has not been the case. Look at Kwame Scott here. It looks like without some of that clean air, has been on a bit of a downfall, fighting right now to stay inside the top 10.
Kwame getting passed by Blake Reynolds right now, so move Kwame back to the 10th spot. Blake Reynolds up to 9th. As Kevin King will get by Matthew Zwack. So Zwack is starting to kind of lose the handle on those tires as well. There you see just ahead of Kwame right there, Daniel Falkingham looking underneath Kane Cook. And I'm kind of surprised to see Kane still running that top side in 3 and 4. We saw in the very first run of the race that it might have cooked his tires a bit. Another caution out. That's Justin Lisenby. He's in the 31 on his car, but it's the 40 on the racetrack. So not a very good go around to that the track there for Justin. So that'll bring out caution number 4, and we'll see if we can find a replay on just what happened here. There was a big pack of cars, but Caleb, it looks like it might have been another little self spin.
And just goes around. And Justin Lisenby and his Barr Visuals FTF Cup debut. Just behind him. Got to get on those brakes.
Oh, man.
Really close call there.
It's not what you want to see when you're coming off a corner there. So I didn't really, maybe a little bit of contact with Jonathan Oates there, but I don't think that was Nick Miller that had to make that last second decision. But the strategy will pay off for Briar LaPrade here as pit stops begin, and he stays out, saves a set of tires, and he's going to come in as the leader with this one. So he leads everyone except a couple down pit road. So this is where the strategy is going to come into play here now, Caleb. So we are under 100 laps to go now. Guys are maybe looking to save that one extra set of tires. So we got a couple more staying out. You see Daniel Falkingham, Blake Reynolds, Timu Toika, Wyatt Tinsley, Jonathan Oates are going to stay out, I believe, on this set. So a lot of different drivers electing to stay out as the cautions kind of dwindle down later on in this race.
And again, we were just able to see a lot of that group that stayed out retain their track position, and maybe this group as well that's staying out hoping to do the same here in guys like Falkingham, Reynolds. And again, shout out to Timu Toika, who has had just such a great run tonight. Has been up inside the top 15 basically all night. Top 10 for a lot of the night. He's done fantastic.
Let's get a word with one of the drivers that stayed out here. Blake, you got us?
Sean?
Yeah, hey.
What's going on?
I'm doing the broadcast tonight. I saw you stayed out, so would you mind walking us through the strategy that went into that call?
Well, I was looking at the clock here. That was a lot of time for 120 laps, and we have 92 to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured that's still a lot of time, and it's a lot of time to make up a disadvantage if I save an extra set of tires here. So I went ahead and did that. Also, like Zwack and them, they were holding on pretty good, so I don't know. Figured I'd try it. Can't hurt me too bad.
Did Briar staying out and getting the lead and kind of hanging on to it kind of sway your decision there?
I mean, yeah, track's rubbered up too, and Sun's going down. Track's really gripped up. I'm using way more throttle than I was. So, yeah, a lot of grip.
How'd you feel the setup is, though? You say there's a lot of grip, but we've had a number of self-spin cautions. So would you say it's too loose off the corner, or would you say it's got the perfect blend of, looseness and just kind of skill gap in there?
I think the next gen sucks on a bumpy track.
Yeah.
And, yeah, basically. The brakes were really bad in practice. I think it was kind of a cleaner track, so maybe that's why, but I'm running some kind of front-powered brakes, so I'm not really wrecking on the entry like other people were.
So you mentioned the tires. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of stuff going on in the car there. You got a whole team to manage down there.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned tires. So we started out with 8 sets of tires, including the one that's on the vehicle at the start. How many are you down to? Do you mind clarifying that information?
Well, I'm down to 4 left in the pits.
Oof.
But I think the others are now in 3, unless they just took fuel only there or whatever. I don't know.
So interesting strategy recall there from everybody. Blake, we'll let you get back down there, man. We just want to get your thought process. You know what you're doing in these things, so I think you'd be a good person to talk to. Not that anybody else that stayed out wouldn't be, but you're the first name I saw, so I hope I didn't interrupt anything down there.
It's all good, Sean. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Blake. Good luck. Go get him.
Okay.
I don't know why he does what he does in these interviews, but that's Blake Reynolds, being himself.
Just before we go green, obviously, for everybody watching, has noticed the absence of Jacob Hitz tonight, and in his honor, in his place, wouldn't be an FTF broadcast without talking about college football really quickly. Notre Dame is on upset watch on Ohio State with the ball inside the 2-minute warning, up 4 right now in Indiana.
A Colorado game. Yikes. Speaking of the Iowa Hawkeyes, they're currently down 24-0 to Penn State. So if you're at that game right now, hop on over to the racetrack, depending on how far it is from where you are. But green flag is back out. Daniel Falkingham is your leader. Blake Reynolds second as they make their way into turn number 1 again. The top 6 stayed out on this recent pit stop. So we'll see how these tires fare. As Wyatt Tinsley, haven't said his name too much tonight. He's looking to the inside of Teemu Toika for third.
And Tinsley doing a fantastic job on that inside lane. Jonathan Oates, you see him. He's worked up inside the top 5 as well, albeit on strategy. But, if he's able to hold on here, it would be a fantastic run for him. Brandon Hawken trying to hold off. Parker White just a little behind him as well. Briar LaPrade, Michael Guest, Oshlam round out your top 10 right now as they run.
And just in case you guys were curious as what they were talking about in the race, Philip McCandless said DoorDash and drive-thrus have ruined the fast food dine-in experience. So thank you very much for that, Philip. Thanks. So meanwhile, up front, Jonathan Oates, haven't mentioned him too much in this race either, just ahead of these guys, the battle you're watching. And that 73 gets a little bit of contact with Wyatt Tinsley after looking for the 4th position. So that's going to open the door for Parker White on those tires to dive to the inside. Brandon Hawken looks to the inside. Briar LaPrade is there as well. So we're going to see how these guys converge off the corners.
Man.
Hawken has to fight it off at turn 4.
Really close call there between Oates and Hawken. Briar LaPrade might open the door up for him as well, as maybe he looks to go 3 wide. The only time we've really seen that has been from Michael Guest earlier tonight, and guess who is right behind this group as well? Briar LaPrade looking in the middle, 3 wide in between Hawken and Oates. Michael Guest might have the door opened up for him here to work his way up maybe towards that top 5.
So Briar LaPrade's going to sneak on through here. So we saw, we heard Blake Reynolds say, kind of going back to the handling situation, that the next-gen car does not like bumpy racetracks, and Iowa Speedway is definitely a bumpy racetrack, so definitely not the right mix for car and track, but they provide some interesting racing. We were talking about lanes all night, Caleb, and these guys searching for grip. It looks like the bottom has been dominant, but that top side on the short run, these guys are going to have to be very wary of it, because if there's anything that's, I don't want to say a given, it's FTF and coming down to a late race short run.
And looking around right now, you can see the sun on this racetrack just kind of baking into that surface. We were
Beaming
talking
in the surface.
I know. We're talking to Blake Reynolds a little earlier on about you know, how the racetrack as it, you know, became darker, became cooler. There you go. And Zach's favorite graphic.
Cue it up.
As this track surface begins to cool down, just how much more grip is going to be on this racetrack, and it is what is really laying that foundation for a lot of these guys to be able to stay out on these runs. And as you know, been able to benefit Fockingham Reynolds here as Parker White still tries to hold them off.
Parker's right on the back bumper of Blake Reynolds, but that is just ahead of what we're looking at right here. Teemu Toika going all the way up to the wall in that 146. He's going to be passed by Briar LaPrade. Looking for the crossover down the front straightaway. Toika back into turn number 1. So Teemu, he's had a very good run here at Iowa tonight. Started very well, been hovering around the mid top 10. So pretty much all race. So big shout out to Teemu, big Teemu Toika fan. He's putting together a nice run here tonight.
And Eden. Again, I mean, a few guys that are inside this top 10 right now. Jonathan Oates as well, another guy who is having a quietly good run. And again, just trying to hold on right now on the back end of that strategy call. Right now, it looks like he is under attack from Kevin King, Daniel Buttafuoco as well, Brandon Hawken as well, trying to move into this top 10. See him trying to work that outside lane.
So we'll see just how much of a toll it has on Oates' tires right now. So pretty much the only one working that top side. He's looking to kind of keep these guys at bay. And I say that, and Kane Cook right behind just goes way up to the top of the track. So thank you, Kane, for the perfect timing. But Kane looking to the outside of Brandon Hawken right there in that yellow and gray car. A couple playoff drivers in this mix with Hawken and Buttafuoco's whack right behind them as well. That was very close between Kane and Brandon Hawken, but they slide in the line there. So pretty much the best battle right here, Caleb, is these 4 cars, and they're really showing just the multitude of racing grooves this track has to offer.
And
Michael Frisch is yelling at people.
Yeah, I was about to say a close call between Frisch and Rocky Boyd. Sounds like. Not exactly sure what transpired there, but Frisch was not happy about it on the radio there.
What else is new? So he just yells at, he finds someone to yell at every race and just sticks with it. But back here with Rocky Boyd and company, this is quite a battle as well. As we go back up toward the front, Matthew Zwack dives underneath Jonathan Oates here into turn 3. Hawkins going to give way on that top side. So this is a pretty entertaining battle itself right here. So move Matthew Zwack up to the 11th spot, and Hawken looking to follow him through.
And looking around right now, Oshalim trying to work on David L. Brown for the 14th position, just a little behind this. And you can see on screen, Jonathan Oates has fallen outside of the top 10. Zwack in 11th right now. A lot of these playoff drivers, you know, Sean, how cognizant are you going to be of that lap counter as you watch it tick down inside 100 laps to go at this point? You know, when does that timer really go off in your head to say, hey, it's time to get going? You know, that urgency is starting to pick up. I need points to make it into that next round.
Well, I mean, hopefully you've already taken action at this point of the race, because, you know, the laps go by pretty quick here. 215 laps at Iowa seems like a daunting task, a long race, but you lap this place in like 23, 25 seconds. So, I mean, it's definitely not a very long time as far as race standards go. So these guys definitely have to be on it throughout the race. I think the guys up front have done a great job of putting themselves in this spot to kind of give themselves a chance. But you got guys that we hate to harp on them, but guys like Michael Frisch, Kevin McAdams back here, a couple playoff drivers. They need Brian Mercurio even. He's back in 16th. So Mercurio, Kwame Scott, Frisch, McAdams, all those guys that are in the mid teens into the 20s, they really got to find a way to get up to the front of the field here and get any playoff point they can. Because you mentioned earlier, Caleb, going into Talladega in a situation where you need to win, not very ideal in stage playoff racing.
Absolutely not. And some of those guys that are going to be in must-win territory, looking at Ryan Naraki right now, was only 1 point coming into tonight, but right now runs in the 32nd position. Definitely not where you want to be. Kevin King, he was 28 points out coming into tonight, and he's going to close that buffer tonight for sure, but still going to be difficult with the run that Michael Guess is having in that 4th position. Now 3rd position as he's trying to get past Fockingham. as well. David L. Brown, who is 12th right now, coming into tonight, was 39 points out of it, and Dylan Basin as well is definitely going to be in a must-win after missing the last 2 weeks.
Things kind of calming down at the front. You saw we had some crazy side-by-side battles, so that's definitely calmed down a little bit. Ohio State still with the football with 56 seconds left in the fourth, down by 4 to Notre Dame. So Ohio State fans turn away for that game. Definitely one of the harder ones to watch for you guys. But I don't know. I was watching the Clemson game. I'm surprised they weren't really able to pull it out there in prime scoring territory against Florida State and just couldn't get it done. So Clemson just seems like a mess right now. They should be at least 3-1 or something. I don't know.
And Ryan Day, I feel like, is going to be on the hot seat if he dropped those games to Michigan. And now it's 4th and 7 at the Notre Dame 39 with the game on the line for the Buckeyes.
Not looking good.
No.
Not looking good. Speaking of Michigan, Matthew Zwack currently having a career run up in the 9th position up here. So looking right to the back of Kane Cook as we take a little bit of a look further back. We mentioned Brian Mercurio. He must have heard me in that 41 car we saw just a second ago as we go back to him. I'm just making Zach just go back and forth at this point. He's yelling in my ear currently. But Brian, haven't really mentioned much about him in this race. We mentioned playoff driver, of course, so he's another one of those guys that need to have a pretty solid run up here. He's currently 59 points up, but you definitely don't know what can happen later on in this round. But Mercurio quietly putting together a solid run, not a Brian Mercurio-esque run, but nonetheless it'll be enough to get the job done. As we look further up ahead here, Timu Tuika right in the midst of this battle between David Brown, and Wyatt Tinsley.
And Tinsley is been trying to get back into this top 10. He's looking to the inside of Tuika. Tinsley, a good run tonight isn't exactly paramount for him. It's not, a necessity to be in a good position next week at Talladega, but you definitely want as much of a buffer as you can get because, again, the wild card that Talladega is going to be, you could find yourself in a wreck lap 10 of that race and be out for the rest of the round. We don't know until we get there, but that is definitely a possibility at Talladega, and you just want as much of a buffer as you can get. And I think that's why you're going to see so much aggression, so much urgency at the tail end of this race from guys like Tinsley, Mercurio, who right now, outside of Ryan Araki, are the lowest running playoff drivers in the field.
Yeah, we just saw, if you guys were able to get a close look at that, Wyatt Tinsley sideways all throughout the exit of turn 2 there, able to keep it going and get around Timu Tuika, and Mercurio following him through there. So Brian we're talking about him being close to 20th. He's now kind of made his way up just outside the top 10, right behind Wyatt Tinsley. So Mercurio, another one of our former Coke drivers in here, definitely not a slouch by any means here on iRacing, especially in FTF. Longtime FTF driver. As we see Tinsley get loose off of 4 again. Mercurio was one of the FTF people, one of the few from NR to kind of make the transition over to iRacing and still race in FTF. So just goes to show how long Brian's been a veteran in the game as he gets by Wyatt Tinsley for 12th. So Brian Mercurio slowly making himself a factor as David Brown immediately goes to pit road. So we see some strategy being employed now as Rocky Boy is going to follow through as well. Nick Miller losing some spots, but pit stops early here, Caleb.
An interesting call here from David L. Brown. Got to wonder if this is a Hail Mary of sorts to try to put himself in good standing for the end of this race. Looking at LaPrade, guess nobody going to be takers up inside this top 5 just yet.
Oh, Timu Tuika just missed the pits. Brandon Hawkin just missed the pit entry. Big miss there for Brandon Hawkin. He is sliding back in the standings. That is a big mistake for Brandon Hawkin. He's going to have to, he slides all the way back to 36th, and he's going to come back into pit road this time for the strategy. So how will this play into the championship hopes for Hawkin? He's going to stay on the racetrack. Timu Tuika is going to try it again to come in, and he will make it this time. So 2 misses on pit road here at Iowa. We mentioned we talked to Kevin McAdams earlier. He said Iowa's got an interesting pit entry, and Caleb exhibit A and B right there.
Yeah, absolutely, and tough for Hawken, who now runs in the 35th position. And if you want to know the difference between pitting from that top 10 to pitting as the last car on the lead lap, I mean, you're going to see it here from Brandon Hawken, as he is just going to be buried in traffic for the rest of this race.
Tough break for Brandon Hawken, but Zach read my mind going to this battle right here. I feel like we just had a 3-wide battle at any point in this race. Paul Mikołajczyk in that 77, haven't mentioned him on the very top of the racetrack yet. He's grazing the wall a little bit just outside of Justin Lisenby going into turn 1. This is all the battle for 24th. And just ahead of them, we got another pretty close battle there. You just saw going off your screen, Jonathan Oates and Josh Chin. That's going to be the battle for 16th. And all these guys are coming up on this battle. You see Lawson Peel running the top there, as Wyatt Tinsley is going to be the next one to duck onto pit road.
Oh, Lawson Peel almost just lost it on the front straightaway. Great save out of that number 12 machine.
Man.
He's now going to be under attack, but that was a close call. Hamilton Akabueze, Jonathan Oshalem right on his back bumper now. Don't know how he didn't spin out there.
That was definitely a close call. Great save there as well for Lawson Peel. So that just shows how running the top can heat those tires up and lose the grip, but he's able to keep it going. So Wyatt Tinsley, as we mentioned, on pit road, pitting from the top 10. So this is another one of those Hail Mary calls you were talking about, Caleb. So we'll see if this works out for him as he needs. Up at the front, still very quiet, but this whole group right here is definitely the one to watch here from Lawson Peel on back.
Down into turn number 1, look at David L. Brown, who's still trying to get his lap back at the moment. Right in the middle of really a hornet's nest going on right here. This is a real interesting group. Look at David L. Brown here to the inside of Oshalem, trying to break inside this top 20, or at least trying to work towards getting his lap back. It sounds like we're going to have more takers.
Kevin King, Daniel Falkingham make their intentions known that they are coming in, so we'll see who follows. King not coming in this time. Falkingham is, so he will make the slow trek to the apron through 3 and 4. Is he going to make pit speed? That's close. I got to look at that. That's going to be a close one. Not seeing a black flag coming up for Falkingham, but that is oh, he did get a black flag. Too fast entering for Daniel Falkingham, another playoff driver.
Late race implications for him, and he's been, borderline, not dominant, but he's been up inside this top 5 all race long, and this is a big blow to his chances. Keep in mind, he was only 59 points to the cut line coming into tonight.
So 2 playoff drivers find themselves making critical errors on this round of green flag pit stops. Lawson Peel announces his intent to pit. So he is going to make his way down and out of pit road. Paul Mikołajczyk is still marred on the outside in this big group here off of turn number 4. Philip McCandless there in the 109. In this group as well. Jack Mace just ahead of it. A couple guys we haven't really mentioned there as well. Chris Wetson, that 71, that purple, green, and red Dave Marcus inspired scheme. Having a quietly solid run up in 21st position. So these guys that pit, we got another one ducking onto pit road. Looks like Josh Chin making his way in as the newly found driver of the 53, replacing Justin Melillo. Just going to take a while to get used to not associating Justin Melillo in the 53 car, but that is Josh Chin making his way into his pit stall. So another early green flag stop, and we're going to see, Caleb, just who follows through on this strategy. So we've seen a couple playoff drivers here go in, see a couple other guys here, but if you're just leading Parker White and Company, I mean, when do you think about coming in? Because the longer you go, the more benefit it'll be for you, but at the same time, it'll be more of a detriment if you have to chase somebody down the longer you stay out.
Yeah, it's been interesting because we really haven't seen green flag pit stops much today. Just a few ill-timed cautions for everybody, but right now, I mean, you are definitely going to be good to make it to the end if you come in here in about the next, anywhere from now to the next 10 laps or so. So maybe you want to game plan for a few overtimes if you can, find it in the fuel cell or you can preserve your tires a little longer. But going to be interesting for sure. I think if you're one of these leaders inside the top 5 right now, anywhere in this next 5 to 10 laps, but probably more so on the sooner side.
Alex Kolonix is in. Ryan Naraki is in. So a couple more drivers coming in for their green flag pit stops. Looking at Kwame Scott, Brian Mercurio. Mercurio continuing his trek through the field. Trying to get alongside of Kwame. Kwame's going to give him the top on the front straightaway. Pretty even battle right there. Michael P. Frisch right behind them as well. And with Kevin McAdams too. So going to be... I'm kind of paying attention to where the guys just maybe in and just out of the top 10 are going to make their stops. Because if you're them, if you think this thing is going to go green the rest of the way, history has shown it isn't. But you got to be wary of that. Blake Reynolds coming down pit road, another one running towards the front of the field. So maybe Blake coming in will maybe open the floodgates for pitting, so to speak, and see when everyone else is going to come in. But Blake coming in early for his stop.
And here's Falkingham again with that speeding penalty, and set him back a fair bit. Brandon Hawken, another car who is 1 lap down. Looking at Kevin King right here, running third at the moment.
Falkingham was kicked all the way back to 40th because of that penalty. So a big blow to Daniel Falkingham. He came into this race pretty, I don't want to say safe, but he was 86 points above the cut line, so that's not going to help him going into Talladega. But I don't think he's any real threat of falling out of contention as Matthew Zwack announces that he is going to be pitting. So Zwack is going to be coming in from the 7th position. We take a look at this group here fighting on the racetrack. Here comes Zwack ducking on a pit road. Is he going to get down in time? He is just behind the 45, spinning onto pit road. Can't really tell who that was just there. That's Hamilton Akabueze in the Money Lion Camry. Had an interesting pit entry there, but I'm not sure if there's any penalties for him. But more and more drivers seem to be acknowledging as here we go. More drivers coming in. Michael Guest brings the 9 in.
And again, we're inside that buffer zone. Parker White, you got to think about coming down the pit road anytime now if you're the driver of the 011 machine. Looking up ahead of him, Falkingham looks like he got one of his 3 laps back now, so should just be running 2 laps down at the moment. Real fast, just wanted to acknowledge Daniel Falkingham. 2 finishes outside the top 15 the last few weeks. Last week at Bristol and then at Daytona as well. And he was really on a hot streak coming into the playoffs. And now in the first 2 rounds, looks like it's not going to be going too well. And it's going to put him in a rough position come Talladega next week. So, I mean, just goes to show you with this format, just how quickly your season can flip on its head.
Nick Miller is in. Michael Frisch is in. But those are a couple tough races to where you need to have great finishes, like a wild card races, you can call them, Daytona and Bristol. So definitely a lot of carnage you got to go through it. Speaking of carnage, Seth Knoll had another moment on the front stretch there, let the whole field by right there. So he got loose again off of turn 4. He's able to keep it going. So Seth has had a rough go of it. Here comes Kevin King pitting from the 3rd position. So Kevin King, perhaps this will be the indicator that we're pitting. Brian LaPrade announces he's pitting. So when does Parker White come in? Parker's still on the racetrack. Breyer's going to slow down, make the hard left turn. Is he going to miss it too? Oh, he barely got in there. We're going to see if there's any penalties for that, but that is about as close as you can cut it for Brian LaPrade on that green flag stop. Wow.
And it's about as close as you can be. Get a replay right here, and you see LaPrade. He's going to get on the brakes and just doesn't quite have the angle to make it in. Man, what a close call.
Wheel can't turn very much more left the way Breyer was point in it, so he's able to keep going, fortunately for him. And no penalties for the 19, so he's able to go back and rejoin the race. Parker White still has not stopped. So there he is, making his way through 3 and 4, looking to go as long as he can on this set of green flag stops. Kevin McAdams comes over the radio. He will come in from the 5th position, a little loose on the apron. Nice and easy entry there for Kevin, so he's going to make his way down.
And I mean, normally you'd be able to stretch this fuel window a lot longer, but tonight running a 55% fuel capacity in these cars, and really is, you know, handicapping the amount of fuel that they can, you know, have in these race cars and how long they can go under green flag conditions.
Look at this group right here. Philip McCandless is in a hornet's nest right there, so everyone's going to go on by the newer tires. Hamilton Akaboise right behind him in that 45. Art Reimer there in the green and purple, the iconic green and purple scheme for Art. As everyone's going to go by. So Parker White still on the racetrack there. The battle you're looking at here, Philip McCandless clinging to that 10th position. But here comes Cade Cook, going to make it 4 wide in that 3 car. Ryan Naraki is up there. The track is wide enough for 4 wide. Do you want to do it? Not really, but they make it work. So good job by everybody there.
We have more coming down the pit road this time by, and this is a tough battle right here.
Chris Wett's coming in. Scott Rickard is coming in.
Oh, Wett's missed it.
Wetz is going to stop and going to back up. He's got to be careful not to get a black flag there. So another one missing pit entry there, along with Brandon Hawkin and Timu Toika. Another one coming in. Oh, it's Kwame Scott. We almost wrecked going into the pit entry. It looks like he was going in, and then maybe at the last second decided not to. But that is another big moment for Kwame. More drivers coming in. Paul Mikolajczyk is in his stall. Kwame going to make his way around the track, maybe try it again. He's still in 4th. So it looks like he's going to slow down and make the hard left turn. Philip McCandless announces he's pitting. Justin Lisenby coming in right behind. There you see him. David Cabrera is in. Ryan Pandicio is in. So I think most of the field now going to be coming in. So there you see more drivers. There's Daniel Botafuco making his way in. Botafuco pitting from the 3rd position. Parker White still has not pit. Neither is Brian Mercurio. So those two are still on the track, 1st and 2nd. Seth Knoll is up to 4th. Now 3rd with this recent pit stop for Botafuco. If a caution were to come out for Seth Knoll after the night he's had to get him just into the podium positions late in this race, what an occurrence that would be. I'm not trying to speak it into existence or anything, but Seth's had a long night.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of this would unravel if we had a caution here in the next few laps before Parker White came in. I mean, you see on the ticker.
Parker's coming in. Nate Stewart right in front of him. Brian Mercurio elects to stay out. So Caleb, Brian Mercurio maybe trying to stretch this out as far as he can go. Maybe catch a caution for himself to have the freshest tires.
And it's a possibility for sure. Let me see. I mean, Mercurio right now, he didn't quite had the lead that Parker White did. Parker had about a 7-second lead over.
Oh.
Here comes Mercurio.
My goodness. We don't need another playoff driver binning it on pit entry, so good job by Brian to save that. That's going to relinquish the lead to David Brown. And David Brown, historically, runs his fuel out almost every green flag pit stop he's ever in an FTF broadcast. So not surprising here to see that. Michael Guest currently is sitting in 2nd, not too far behind David Brown. There you see Guest. Wyatt Tinsley right behind him. And then it's a little ways back to Kevin King, who is sitting in 4th. So when this cycles out, it looks like Michael Guest is going to be your leader. So a well-timed green flag pit stop could net Guest a quick, sneaky win here. So Still a long way to go, Caleb, but right now it looks like Guest might have played his cards correctly right now.
And Guest really does need this run. He and David L. Brown both we're outside of that cut line coming into tonight, and this is going to go a long way if they're able to hold on to this, but remains to be seen. But like you said, Michael Guest has really played that best of both worlds. Best tires and best track position right now for that 9 machine.
So we got to see where Parker White is going to cycle out into all this. He's currently sitting in 13th right now, and he has a Hornets. Can we go on board with him right now, Zach? Can we do that? Because look at this group. There's cars everywhere off of 4.
Well, we're going to see at Talladega next week.
Oh my
Iowa.
goodness!
Oh, and he's trying to get in there. Look at him. He's right behind Art Reimer right now. Going to get on that rear bumper. Jordan Worth in this group as well.
He's going to go around the outside of everybody. Him and Chris Wetz have the freshest tires out of all of this. He's going to drive around everyone. Oh, they're crashing Art Reimer in the back. Caution is out. Art Reimer in this group. I don't know if he was coming in the pit or what have you there, but contact with Art sent him around, and that'll bring out the caution. With 21 laps to go at Iowa, David Brown snuck his way to the lead by staying out. We'll take another look here with the carnage. Parker White fortunately just got it. Art looks like he might have got a little loose. Jordan Worth was right there. Nate Stewart nowhere to go. 5th caution of the night makes this race a whole different ball game, Caleb.
Look at Art Reimer here and just makes contact with Nate Stewart as well.
And there were 3, 4 wide. You saw Philip McCandless give a shot to Chris Wetz there on board with Nate Stewart. Just had it missed, and then Art just comes back up the racetrack. Nowhere for Nate to go. That's another tough break for Nate. But caution on lap 195 brings us to yet another short run scenario. Parker White stays out. There you see him. So Parker, it's a good call for him. His tires are still very new, so he will gain the lead here. Daniel Botafuco stays out as well on 9-lap-old tires. And Michael Guest will win the race off of pit road. So we will sort this all out under our 5th caution of the night here in the Janet Guthrie 300K at Iowa for the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series. Home stretch here at Iowa. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be a crazy finish. We'll be right back to take you home here on FTF. Don't go away. Back at Iowa for the home stretch of the Janet Guthrie 300K at the Iowa Speedway, live on FTF GG. Sean Butler, Caleb Hoffman here with you. Zach Johnson furiously pushing buttons in the, I guess, the truck, whatever he has over there. I'm not sure if he sold the van or whatever to upgrade yet. I don't know. That paperwork hasn't gone through yet. The Jeep Cherokee, he's telling us. That's an interesting scenario. But Caleb, implications here at the end of this race. So Parker White, Daniel Botafuco on older tires from the rest of the field. Inside of 20 laps to go, you see Parker furiously weaving that car. What the heck are they in for on those old tires with the pack coming in on new ones?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting here for sure. I mean, Parker White and Botafuco, they don't have, nearly the amount of laps on those tires as we've seen from guys that have stayed out earlier in this race. But it's going to be interesting for sure from Guest, Tinsley, King as well. All of those guys on those fresh tires. Parker White, Botafuco, they're going to be in for a ride here if they can hold on.
Pace car is off. Coming to 15 laps to go at Iowa. Buckle up. Green flag is out. Does anybody have anything for Parker White and Daniel Botafuco? Michael Guest immediately to the outside, trying to get a fender alongside Botafuco for a second. Parker White scooting away off of turn 2.
And look at Botafuco trying to hold off Guest and Tinsley. Not sure he's going to be able to do that, though. Guest looking up to that outside. It's not nearly the run that we
trouble
saw
in turn
earlier.
4. Timu Toika, Josh Chin. Oh, it's sideways. Who is that? Is that
Mikolajic, I think.
Paul Mikolajczyk? Nate Stewart is along the inside wall. A lot to unpack here for this wreck. So we'll see if we can get a replay here, but tough break for Timu Toika on this one. We mentioned he was having such a good run. Going into turn 3, Josh Chin to the outside. Toika's already in the wall. Chin really with nowhere to go. Not sure what happened to Nate Stewart. Didn't see what happened there. Oh, he and Mikolajczyk were the ones that got together and just sends Paul right in to the stationary car. So let's see. Timu, does he get help from Kane Cook? He just gets loose. Maybe drove it into 3 too hard. Gets into the wall. Is that Jonathan Oshalem got a bit of it as well? There you saw Josh Chin, Mikolajczyk, and there's Stewart. Another incident for Nate Stewart. So tough break for Nate. He's another driver that's had a pretty rough night, as we'll go on board with Nate for the second time for a wreck replay. We'll see what he saw. There's the wreck happening up there. Off of turn 4. He got a little loose checking up for it. Got into Mikolajczyk and spun it around, and fortunately didn't hit the inside wall, but nonetheless, the tough night for Nate Stewart after that wreck continues.
And we were talking under the break about Nate Stewart, and he's just not had a night quite up to par to his standards, and been a tough night for him for sure, and hoping to get back going at Talladega next week here. But you know who this is good news for? The caution in quick succession is good for Parker White, Daniel Botafuco, who are, can just kind of tick off laps under caution here and don't have to worry about Guest, Tinsley, King on those fresher tires catching back up with them.
Laps tick down here at Iowa, so if there's anybody that can hold this field off, it's Parker White. But I mean, would you, I guess if you were the driver here, Caleb, would you rather be in the spot where you were leading with older tires with late in the race, hoping they just keep wanding up, or would you rather be in Michael Guest's shoes and just have the fresher tires and have to drive around these guys to get the win?
It's going to be interesting for sure, because Parker White, I mean, it's kind of misleading because, you look at the stints, on these top two's tires, and it looks right about 15 laps, but how many of these laps have been run under caution for these top two? So, I mean, I would honestly take the track position at this point. There's not enough wear on those tires, I think, to benefit Michael Guest all too much. I think Parker White and Botafuco are in the best position here, especially Parker White. He has that buffer back to guys like Michael Guest and Tinsley. They're going to have to get past Botafuco, and that is no easy task on its own.
Definitely not. So his history is shown again. Botafuco, we said earlier he could just relax, maybe kind of chill out in this race. He has already punched his ticket to the next round with his win last week at Bristol. But, he why not make it 2 in a row? You know, if you go back-to-back at FTF, not an easy thing to do if your name's not Parker White this year. But, you know, who knows? Maybe kind of keep that momentum up going through this weekend into Talladega, and he could just chill in that race especially. So coming down, we should be getting the 1 to go signal here, and that means we're going to be going back green with under 10 laps to go. What are the odds, Caleb, that we go to quote-unquote overtime in this? I mean, I think they're pretty good odds if I were a betting man.
Yeah, I believe there's a stat out there somewhere, and it's I believe it's something like every other Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series race ends up in overtime, and a lot of the times this is why you get that one anomaly caution with about 10 laps to go, get everybody grouped back up together, and then that's when the real aggression comes out of all these guys, and you end up with those overtime finishes. And kind of the same scenario here. I'd bet my life savings, honestly, that we're going to an overtime here, because you have some of these guys on the outside looking at Brandon Hawken, Brian Mercurio, Kevin McAdams, Michael P. Frisch, all that have to make up 5 or 10 spots here in the next 10 laps, and just that level of aggression will lead to accidents, and many a times is puts us in bad positions.
Speaking of late event heroics, Ohio State went on to beat Notre Dame, so that's infuriating. But
yeah, on the last play possible.
Great, just what we needed here. Pace car's off. What do we have in store here at Iowa? Green flag is out. Parker White gets him going. A great restart. Michael Guest is going to look to the inside of Daniel Buttafuoco. So Guest, how will he make those new tires work? Buttafuoco using that middle lane, so much more grip. Guest able to kind of stay to the inside, but Buttafuoco able to fend him off.
Right here, look at Michael Guest. It looks like he's almost going to go around trying to get to the back bumper of Daniel Buttafuoco. That's going to open the door now for Wyatt Tinsley. Briar LaPrad's up into the top 3 as well. 9 laps to go. We almost went under caution again there. One car off the pace. Looks like it's Chris Wetz.
Chris Wetz off of turn 4. Didn't hit anything, so no caution there. He's going to pull it off. So Parker White loves to see this. He's got about a 1.1 second gap between he and Wyatt Tinsley. Wyatt is on newer tires than Parker White is, so we're going to see if that will play a factor into it, but the lap's quickly ticking down. There you see Michael Guest trying to get to the outside of Buttafuoco, and he has just not been able to get by that 13 car.
And still locked in battle here. Blake Reynolds down to the inside, trying to break into the top 5 now, and it looks like he'll be successful in doing so. Guest stepped out just a little bit. He's going to get that momentum back on the high side. Right behind him as well, Kevin King, David L. Brown, Matthew Zwack, all playoff drivers. 6 laps to go here, and I mean, if you're, again, like a David L. Brown or a Kevin King, how aggressive do you get trying to make up ground on these fellow playoff drivers?
Like we said, every single bit counts. Every point counts in the playoffs, as you see Kevin King making his way to the outside of Blake Reynolds as we come down to 5 laps to go here at Iowa. Michael Guest trying to make that middle lane work. Passes Blake Reynolds. Has the run going down the back straightaway. Which lane will he elect to go to? He's going to go to the top. And Daniel Buttafuoco says, have some dirty air. And kind of keep that 9 behind as King tries to go through the middle. Just not quite there off of 4.
Looking at Guest still trying to make his way around Buttafuoco for the 4th position. Hearing reports that there might be another spin a little further on in the back.
Caution. Caution is out. David Cabrera in the 31 in trouble on the front stretch. And we are not quite done yet.
Something overtime.
Something overtime. Oh man, this was an interesting one. So David Cabrera off of turn 4, another, it looks like something happened beforehand. Jonathan Oshalem, he gets a little loose. Oshalem not with anywhere to go to avoid it. Almost flips over in the grass here. Able to keep it off the wall and keep it going. But that is, we've seen that a lot here tonight, Caleb. Drivers just getting loose off the corner. But we mentioned our conversation with Blake Reynolds early in the race. These next-gen cars do not like the bumpy surfaces, and Iowa is a bumpy surface, so these cars don't really react very well to these bumps.
And tough going for Parker White, who accrued an almost 2-second lead there and trying to capture his 11th win on the year for car number 11. Right now in the midst of a 3-race winless drought. You want to know how his season's gone?
Man, so rough.
I know.
Will he ever recover?
Gonna be interesting here because now, I mean, the circumstances have changed quite a bit here. He did have Buttafuoco right behind him, again acting as a buffer, and everybody was going to have to work through that number 13. But you know, on that run, they were able to get past the number 13, and it looked like it was going to be just too much, an insurmountable amount of space between Tinsley and Parker White. But Wyatt's going to have a shot here to get past Parker White if he can play his cards right. It's going to be interesting to see the discrepancy between tires at this point in the run. Right now, after putting about 10 laps on him, Parker White 24 laps since he's last come down the pit lane, and 17 for Tinsley. So this will be quite interesting for Tinsley. LaPrade, maybe Buttafuoco can make noise, but if I had to bet, I think this is going to be in between Tinsley and Parker White for the win here.
Parker White on those older tires, as we've documented before, looking for win number 11 on the season. Just a dominating season for Parker White this year so far. 8 pole positions, 10 wins, 17 top 5s, 18 top 10s. Just can't get very much better as far as the season goes for Parker White. So Parker, 10 wins on the year. The next highest is Michael Guest with 3 wins. So gotta think Parker White, it's I don't want to say it's an insurmountable task for Wyatt Tinsley, but Wyatt going up against easily statistically the best driver in the field this year. It is a tall task for Wyatt, but not an impossible one, as we've touched on. Those new tires definitely going to be playing into I guess newer tires, I should say. Definitely going to play a factor into Wyatt's chances for this one.
Going to be interesting here for sure, as you see the light still on the pace car. But I mean, how many times this year has it come down to Parker White and Wyatt Tinsley? And Tinsley right now running 4th in the points. Again, we talked a little bit about that buffer he had coming into tonight. 97 points, had a fair amount, but how far would a win go instead of having to just rely on that points buffer? Especially, again, we've talked about the wild card going into Talladega next week. So, you know, if you're Parker White, after a rough go of it last week, how aggressive are you to try to, you know, hold on to this lead, hold on to this win? But Wyatt Tinsley is just going to be right on that back bumper, and he's going to be giving you all sorts of hell trying to get up there, take that win for himself.
Wyatt does have 1 victory himself this year in FTF, so got a decent amount of win spread in this season so far. Got a lot of drivers with 1 win this year. There's only 4 drivers with multiple victories in the Barr Visuals FTF Cup Series this season. Ryan Doucette, Malik Ray, Michael Guest, and Parker White are those 4 drivers. So in order to shake this up a little bit, Wyatt Tinsley needs to add his name to that list of multiple-time winners this year. We see everybody weaving those tires through turns 1 and 2 to try to get as much heat, as much grip into them as they can. And you see the lights are out atop the iRacing pace car. We will be going back racing this time by. So as you see on the racetrack, Parker White, your leader, Wyatt Tinsley, Briar LaPrade, Daniel Buttafuoco, Michael Guest, Blake Reynolds, Kevin King, David Brown, Matthew Swack, and Rocky Boyd sneaks his way into the top 10. So good job by Rocky getting back up there. But here we go. Green white checkered attempt number 1. Pace car ducks off. Parker White, can he make it? Number 11 for the 11. Green flag is back out. Gets a good restart, but Caleb, Wyatt Tinsley, not a bad restart for him.
No, Parker White really tried to back up the field there. Tinsley's going to have just 2 laps to try to get back. But Parker White, Briar LaPrade in pursuit as well, but I don't think he's going to be in contention for this one already. 6/10 back. Going through turns 3 and 4 for what will be the penultimate time. Buttafuoco and Guest all the way up to the wall, but it's still Parker White's race to lose.
Parker White comes across the start-finish line. 1 lap to go here at Iowa, as we have trouble in the back of the field there. No caution. That looked like it was Brian Sabelski. We stay green here at Iowa. Down the back straightaway. Last chance here for Wyatt Tinsley. Does he have anything for Parker White? off of turn number 4, and number 11 makes it number 11. Parker White is going to win the Janet Guthrie 300K at Iowa, and he will lock himself into the next round of the playoffs. Wyatt Tinsley will come home second, Briar LaPrade third, Daniel Buttafuoco fourth, and Blake Reynolds will round out the top 5. And stop me if you've heard this before. We've heard it 10 times beforehand. This is 11, but Parker White gets it done here in FTF competition. What a run.
And breaks his long winless drought. Coming into today, 35th last week in round 1 at Bristol, 12th at Daytona, and then a 5th at Darlington. Since he's won, that was back at Watkins Glen. And Parker White back in victory lane here for, like you said, win number 11 on the year, and locks himself into the next round of the playoffs officially. We knew it was going to be quite difficult for him to get eliminated round 1, but this is officially the confirmation that we needed to know that he will still be battling for a championship come the Charlotte Roval.
Still a lot of work to be done, but definitely Parker White wanted to get this one heading into Talladega, much did everybody else. But Parker stays calm, uses older tires, and he will punch his ticket to round number 2 after winning here at Iowa. We'll go down your running order final results here from Iowa and the Janet Guthrie 300K. Parker White, your winner over Wyatt Tinsley. Briar LaPrade comes home in 3rd. Daniel Buttafuoco 4th. Michael Guest comes home in 6th. I just skipped over Blake Reynolds for whatever reason in 5th there. Kevin King in 7th. David Brown, a solid run in 8th after getting that strategy to work out in that latest round of long green flag runs. Matthew Zwack 9th. And Caleb Rocky Boyd hangs on to that top 10. Good run for him.
Yeah, great job by him. Another playoff driver in Brandon Hawken, who's going to come home in the 11th position here tonight. Kane Cook in the 12th spot. Brian Mercurio 13th. Michael P. Frisch in the 14th position. Kevin McAdams 15th. Hamilton Akabueze with a nice rebound to get up inside the top 20. 16th position for him tonight. Lawson Peel in 17th. Jonathan Oates 18th. Jack Mace 19th. And then Kwame Scott, after missing the pit road earlier, comes home in your top 20.
And Ryan Naraki will come home 21st after he tried his typical Ryan Naraki pit strategy early on in the race. Kind of had to claw his way back up. He'll come home 21st. Justin Lisenby, after a couple incidents, will come home 22nd. Scott Rickard, Josh Chin, after a late race caution, he will come home 24th. Paul Mikolajczyk, Timu Toika, after having a great run early on in this race, will come home in 26th. 27th for Alex Kolonix, Chris Wetz 28th, Daniel Falkingham 29th, and Jonathan Oshalim will come home in 30th.
31st tonight for Nate Stewart, who ran in a few incidents there. He comes home one lap down. Art Reimer 32nd, Ryan Pandisio 33rd, David Cabrera in 34th, Brian Sabilski 35th. Zach Hudson, we saw in that last lap wreck, comes home in the 36th position, 3 laps down. Nick Miller 37th, Phil McCandless 38th, Jordan Worth 39th, Seth Knoll in 40th, and then outside of your top 40 was Ethan Quarter, Cole Hooper, and Cosmin Ionescu.
Tough break for Cosmin, Cole, Ethan. Those guys just had trouble from the jump, it seemed, in this one, along with Seth Knoll. But let's go ahead and get our podium in here, starting with our winner, Parker White. And Parker, win number 11 for your number 11. So what a season it's been for you, man. Absolutely dominant along with this race tonight. So talk us through this race, man. How are you able to keep those older tires fresher than everybody else on the new ones and hold them off?
Yeah, I really felt like that was my race to lose during the beginning. Daniel got past me there on lap 1, and I was just trying to feel the car out, feel how I was driving in the race, and eventually got back by him. And I felt like I really got into a really good rhythm there on that first green run because I was just lifting way early. And there was even one point we had to save a bit of fuel, I think, to make it to the stage or something. And I was lifting way early and just carrying more momentum into the corner, kind of like Harvick at Atlanta. So I found something with that, and I just kind of kept doing that throughout the rest of the race. And I was able to just keep the tires really good because we were comparing tires in our voice chat, and I was like 5% better than everyone. So I just kept doing that, and it worked out very nicely. So, and then on that last run, that was kind of interesting. So Guest pit before me, I kind of expected that to happen, and my plan was to go as long as I could and take 2 tires and only like 5 gallons of fuel. So I came out of pit road, and when I was basically pulling into my box, I saw Guest go by, and with there only being about 20 to go, I knew that I would need something to happen. So got on the track, and just my luck, there was like a huge pack of lap cars right in front of me. So I had to find my way through them. And then we got a caution, and I was like, well, I kind of need to stay out here. So I was able to just stay out, and it actually drove really, really nice on those 2 tires. And after I got those 2 laps on them, I was able to hit the fastest lap of the race. So I knew after that, I just had to just kind of hit my marks and win the race.
I'd say it worked out for you a little bit. I don't know if you probably knew this, but that caution you're talking about happened in the pack you were in right after you came out. Like literally, you just passed the car that wrecked to bring the caution out. So perfect timing on your part right there. So you're talking about, just taking the strategy, winning the race. So this gives you a little bit of, I guess, a lot of breathing room going into Talladega. Don't have to worry about winning there. So just what are you going to be looking to do at Talladega in that event? You're going to look to, of course, just kind of chill, have a good time in there, or are you just going to take it like you've been each week and kind of go for the win in that as well?
Yeah, same thing as always. Just gonna try to win the race. There's not really any point for me to just chill out in the back. So I'll just do what I can to try to win again.
Absolutely, man. So one last question I got for you. You mentioned the strategy here. So walk us through, I don't think you had to deal with this as much, but we talked to Blake Reynolds earlier, and he mentioned that, it's very hard to pass. Look, cars just doesn't like the bumpy surfaces and flat tracks. Dirty air is a big factor. So how tough was it to kind of be in traffic and try to get around people and get to their outside to get to that preferred passing lane?
So that was actually very interesting this race. So I felt like the outside was definitely the preferred lane, because I think the way I got past Falkenham initially was I just sent it in on the top of turn 3 and just rolled around him. So because I think I pit the most out of everyone probably on strategy, because there was a couple points where we went about 15 or so laps on tires, and I pit both times. The first time I took 4, second time I took second or 2 tires. So I got put back in the pack both times, and while I was going through, I was just trying to do the same thing I was doing, just lift early, run the bottom. And really the biggest thing was just being consistent, just not overdriving the corner, and just keeping the tires cool, because it was really easy to overheat them. So the main thing was just consistency, and obviously the top was the preferred lane, but I was able to make the bottom work too.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'd say you executed your strategies to perfection this race. Win number 11 for you. So, Parker, congratulations, man. Best of luck at Talladega coming up. Very nice job tonight.
Thank you.
That's Parker White here, winner from Iowa tonight. And we'll move into our second place finisher, Wyatt Tinsley, who is caught up with Caleb Hoffman. Caleb.
Yeah, and here with Wyatt Tinsley, obviously the second place finish for you here tonight, and a really good first round. You were kind of on a cold streak coming into the playoffs, looking back at places like Watkins Glen, Darlington, but now 2 top 5 finishes in a row for you in that number 20 team.
Yeah, it's been great. Just trying to keep the momentum up. Yeah, I just didn't have the pace this race to and do anything, so we kind of played a little strategy. Pitted early, went long, got lucky with the caution, and then again took 2 tires. And then guessed kind of got loose and almost wrecked Buttafuoco there, and I kind of skirted past for a second place finish. So overall, I do not like this track at all. I think it should become the next Buc-ee's parking lot, but that's just me. But yeah, I had a great time racing tonight, and I'm currently flipped over on the front stretch here. So I did a little grip flip, and I haven't. The crew, everyone's left. All the crews are gone. They haven't come back and got me. So
Yeah, still the lone car out on the racetrack, like you said, upside down right now. Not reflective of your race here tonight, though. Looking on to Talladega, coming into tonight, it was a 97-point buffer with that second place finish tonight. It should be pretty hard for you to be eliminated. I mean, how does that affect your mindset going into a place like Talladega? Are you just going to be all out there trying to go for the win no matter what, or are you still going to have that points buffer in mind?
all right, I got 4 words for you: raise hail, praise Dale.
So yeah,
That's how it's gonna go next week. If I'm able to race, I don't even know what's going on next week, to be honest with you. This race I was just kind of chilling. I got my Cheez-Its, and me and Brian were having a good conversation about our cats. So honestly, we're just chilling and letting Parker do his thing and having a good time. That's all. But I appreciate y'all broadcasting. I'm sad. I appreciate Sean stepping in, of course, as always, and Caleb, you do such a good job. I miss Jacob Pitts. Where is he at?
He's watching football, probably.
He's watching football. Are you serious?
Probably.
Definitely watching football. There's
Someone ban him.
He might get banned. That might be a thing that we can work out.
I'm for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all. I don't think Briar's gonna want an interview this week, so it's unfortunate. But I appreciate y'all, and we'll see what we can do next week at Talladega. What's after that?
We got it's Charlotte Roval after Talladega, so we got a few wild cards coming up.
Ooh. All right. Well, sounds good. All right. Y'all have a blessed night. Appreciate y'all watching, and have a wild race. Catch Coke on Tuesday of next week.
That's
Final race.
it's gonna be second place finisher Wyatt Tinsley tonight. I think we kicked him from the booth before he got his final word in. But
Way to go, Zach.
Yeah, good run tonight.
All right, so as Wyatt loosely mentioned, no interview for our third place finisher tonight, Briar LaPrade. So it'll just be our top two talking to us tonight. We appreciate them taking a few minutes. So, Caleb, this race was everything we kind of thought it would be coming in here. A lot of multi-groove action, a lot of intense battles, and a strategy call towards the end of the race. So I'd say overall pretty solid event here at Iowa.
Yeah, very interesting for sure. And I mean, we talked early on about some of that playoff attrition. Didn't think it was going to be as big of a factor tonight as it was at Bristol, but looking at our playoff finishers tonight, out of the 16 drivers, not many of them came home in the top 10. And I mean, we had obviously Parker White, Buttafuoco, Wyatt Tinsley, and Blake Reynolds all came home with a top 5 here tonight. But I mean, listen to some of these. You had Brennan Hawken in 11th tonight, Mercurio 13th. But then you had a really tough run for Daniel Falkingham after that speeding penalty, coming home 29th, 15th for Kevin McAdams, and then 21st for Naraki. I mean, there were a few playoff drivers that towards the end of that race that just weren't able to rebound, whether it be penalties or late race wrecks there at the end. Gonna put us in a very interesting position for Talladega next week. You're going to have a lot of guys, probably if I had to guess, 5 or 6 guys are going to be right on the cusp of being eliminated. And all of those guys fighting for just 2 spots to make it in next week.
Absolutely. So Talladega, definitely the track you don't want to go into needing a win. So that race is coming to us October 1st per the schedule at 8 p.m. That's a Sunday. So we will bring that race to you live then. So be sure to tune in. But in the meantime, that'll do it here for our coverage tonight at Iowa. Congratulations to our winner, Parker White, tonight. And for Zach Johnson, Caleb Hoffman, I'm Sean Butler stepping in for Jacob Hitz, who we'll have a stern talking to after this if he is watching football. But thank you guys for being here, being active in the chat. We appreciate you. Have a great night. We'll see you guys at Talladega. Thanks for joining us.